What are you going to do? Your electronic call? Or what are you going to do?
Good morning. Let's enter into a time of prayer together before we get started with the rest of our service. Father God, we come into your house this morning with a worshipful heart. And we want to just do everything we can today to prepare ourselves for fellowshipping with you. We invite your Holy Spirit to guide and direct in all that takes place today. And we just want to leave this place saying it's been so good to be in the house of the Lord today. So help us all encourage each other with those words. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. We want, yes. Say something about the Go Gator concert? Okay. The other night, a bunch of us got together, 2 bands went down, and what a blessing it was. We had some traffic issues, those things, it was all worth it. And never heard such an assembly of people with beautiful voices and beautiful hearts at the same time. It was really, really good. I will say this, though, about it, Bill. I looked around the audience that was there. I never saw so much blue hair in my life. I thought I'd gone to a Smurf concert or something. You just want to take them and go like this and see what happens. Thank you for asking about that.
We're going to have you stand right now and go hug a hand and shake a neck, and then we're going to sing it back in. it like you mean it. To the old rugged cross, I will ever be true. In shame and reproach gladly bear. Then He'll call me someday to my home far away, where His glory Show us your glory, Lord. Sing that again. Show us your glory. Show us your power. Show us your glory, Lord. Amen. That is our prayer this morning. You may be seated. That is our prayer. Well, I tell you what, I just want God to just show us himself this morning in this service. There's a place where mercy reigns and never dies. There's a place where streams of grace flow deep and wide, where all the love
A little exotic, and boy, my flowers are kind of in the way here. My wife said, honey, I think they've got one more week in them, and I said no. I would take a vote, but I get myself in trouble. I gotta find my clicker. Somehow, Tom started reminding me to have my clicker out and ready to go. Kat, you remind him, and then Jesse, you remind Kat, and then I will have it. Here's chapter 10, just a couple of verses here. Not someone you would expect to find in the Faith Hall of Fame. Rahab. Let's read about her. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they had been encircled for 7 days. I mean, that in and of itself is a great story. We don't have time to look at it all, but you remember, can you imagine what it must have been like inside Jericho when you see all of these people marching around the city saying nothing? It's like a Steven Spielberg movie. And then the next day, 7 days, and then they shout, and the trumpets blare, and the walls come a-tumbling down. By faith, Rahab the harlot did not perish along with those who were disobedient, those who were in Jericho, after she had welcomed the spies in peace. Now, let me remind you of the story here, and really in order to get all of the story, I need to take you back to a passage. At least I hope I'm going to take you back to a passage. Let's see here. Now I bet you it'll work. There we go. The real details of the story are found back in Joshua chapter 2. Most of them you know, but there are some interesting things in this story that I just want to remind you of and then show you why Rahab is included in the Faith Hall of Fame and why all of this really brings us to the thought of the Lord's table this morning. So let's go back to Joshua chapter 2, and I'll remind you of some things that are happening there. In Joshua chapter 2, we start at the first of the passage. It says, Then Joshua, the son of Nun. I don't know how that can happen, that you could be the son of none. You got to be the son of at least one, but this is one of those difficult. Keith has been up here. Somehow I touched things and it just rubbed off on me, Keith. Joshua, the son of Nun, sent 2 men as spies secretly from Shittim, saying, Go view the land, especially Jericho. The reason for that, even though God had told them all about it, I think one of the reasons God always sent them in to spy out the land was to convince them that everything he had told them was true. Now, there were many times they did not follow even what they found out. You remember when they went to Kadesh Barnea and they wanted to go into the land, but when they went in and spied out the land, they said, there are giants in the land. It's not something we can do. But hopefully by now the second time they're going into the land, hopefully by now they've got enough courage within them. So the spies go in, and they're going to come back and report that indeed the city is as God said it was, and God is going to supernaturally help them to overtake it. Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men as spies secretly from Shittim, saying, "Go view the land, especially Jericho." So they went in and came into the house of a harlot, whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. Now what's interesting is that in verse 15, we're going to be told that her house is built into the city wall. And apparently, you can't tell directly from the story, but there seems to be a hint that her house is also close to the gate. So here is her house built into the city wall, right near the gate, and so men who would come into the city enter the red light district right as they go in. I mean, it's there. Welcome to Rahab's place. And it sets us up for a rather strange story for a morning at church. Here's Rahab, a woman known for as a prostitute. Yes, she was. She was a lady of the night and day, I suspect. But right there, they go in. Now, I do not know, nor can you tell from the story, if God had told them to go to this woman, or whether it just so happens they go in. But it is wonderful that she is prepared to meet them, but they want none of her services. They got more to do than that. And so we read that they go in and they go to her house. Well, it so happens that the king of the city just hears by way of the grapevine that these men have come in, and he knows that these Jews are coming out of Egypt. They have crossed over the Jordan River, and they are going to begin their conquest of the land. And here is Jericho, one of the very first places that they're going to come to. So he sends some spies of his own to her, and he says, "Okay, show me where their spies are." That's where we come to her deception. Chapter 2, verses 2 through 6. Notice it says, "It was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, men from the sons of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land. And the king of Jericho sent word to Rahab, saying, Bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. And she said, Yes, the men came here. I mean, a lot of men come here. Well, who do you think? Men come into the town? Of course they came to my house. And then she goes a little further. But I did not know where they came from. I don't ask men these things. You just take the customers when they come. And it came about, when it was time to shut the gate, that the men went out. Ding, 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 ding. Lie. Not true. The men went out. I do not know where the men went out. Ding, 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 ding. Lie. I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them. We can finish with the ding-dings. It's lie after lie after lie, because verse 6. She had brought them up to the roof and hidden them in the stalks of flax which she had laid in order on the roof. You cannot come to this passage without seeing that here is a woman who lies. She lied. There's no way around it. It is a bald-faced lie, and yet God blessed her. But that's the question here. Did he bless her because of her lie? Well, The commentators are a little bit divided over this. Some say that God blessed her because she lied. I don't think that's what the passage tells us. But it does bring us to an interesting question. Is it ever right to tell a lie? Can you tell a lie and it's morally okay? It's a difficult subject. Let me give you just a quick answer to it, and you will have to decide for yourself. But when we come to this issue of lying and whether you can lie and get away with it, so to speak, with God, the issue of lying revolves around one thing: God. Everything that God says don't do, everything that God says do in the moral equation of life has to fit with who He is and what He is like. And the Word of God tells me that the nature of God is truth, not a lie. In fact, the Apostle Paul says in Titus chapter 1, verse 2, he says, God cannot lie. He cannot. It's not that He does not. He cannot, because He is totally pure and righteous and good, so He cannot lie. And then it is told of His children, His people. Anyone in the world, really, lying, lips are an abomination to the Lord. He cannot lie. He does not lie, nor does He want others to lie. But then, what do you do with a passage like this one? She lied. She lied again and again and again, and she had hidden them. And God brought blessing to her. And just last week, as we looked at Moses, you remember there were the midwives whom Pharaoh had said, if a child is born, if it's a girl, you can let her live. But if it's a boy, you're to kill the boy. And what did the midwives do? They lied. And God blessed them. But did He bless the lie? Or did He bless what they did in order to save the babies? No matter what you do with it, it brings us to sort of a horns of a dilemma in the issue of ethics. But I'd have to say lying is wrong because of who God is and what He has told us. Neither Rahab nor the Hebrew midwives, in my opinion, were blessed because of the lie. No, they were blessed because of the good thing they did, and it just so happened that it involved a lie too. Now, you need to understand, folks, that many times the Bible will tell us a story about what happened. It doesn't tell us whether it should have happened. It doesn't tell us whether it was right to happen. It just tells us it happened. Now, was it good that she saved the spies? Yes. Was it bad that she lied? Well, depending on what you think of the ethics of the matter, I personally think it was not a good thing for her to lie. But that brings us to a fourth thing I want to mention here. In the area of lying, biblical ethicists, say that 2 times real fast. Biblical ethicists say that there might be an exception to the no-lie rule. Now let me stop for a moment and say, I do not believe in situational ethics. And even many of the good commentators who say this would say they do not believe in situational ethics either. But they would say it comes down to 2 different things here. Number one is called the ethics of the greater good. You have 2 horrible issues here. One issue is, well, let's go back to the Hebrew midwives first. One issue was kill the babies. Is that good? No. That would be wrong. God says do not kill. And so they would have, if they had done what Pharaoh said to do, they would have done wrong. Was it right to lie? No. But which is better? Well, there are those who say there is a greater good in saving the babies in spite of the fact that they lied. They would say here of Rahab that you got 2 different things. Shall I kill the spies? I wouldn't. They're God's spies. Or shall I lie? So you got 2 sins. Which one has the greater good? My problem with this type of ethics is simply to say that we as human beings have an ability to know what the greater good is with God. I'm just telling you this is one of the views. One of the other, and I find it a little more understandable, and that is the ethics of war. There is war. War comes always about because of bad, but there are times when the people who are warring against the enemy are doing the right thing. But in war, you do not tell them where your troops are. You don't tell them, oh, we're going to come and attack you at such a time in the morning. And by the way, our troops are going to come around this way. And by the way, some of them are going to come back from there. The ethics of war is a totally different ethic, some ethicists say. And therefore, it is right in warfare to do that. Now, you see why it's such a thorny issue? I'll go back to the issue of God. God does not lie. He doesn't like lying. Nevertheless, she lied. Okay? We got that down? She lied. We'll move on there. Now we've got her decision. She has made a decision in her mind already about what she is going to do, and she tells us about it. This is in Joshua chapter 2, verses 8 through 11, and she describes her decision to those spies and to us. Now, before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof. Remember, she had the flax all laid out, and she told them, look, I'm going to put you here for the night. Just stay here until I tell you when you can leave. Before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all of the inhabitants of the land have melted away before you. For we have heard how the Lord your God, boy, this is slow this morning, I apologize for that, dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. When we heard it, our hearts melted and no courage remained. I mean, think about it. They didn't even have Google back then. They didn't have any way to know this news very quick, but it's gotten to them. And so she says, we had this fear in our hearts because of you. For the Lord your God, here's her decision. Here are all of the facts. The Lord your God, He is the God in heaven above and on earth beneath. She did not have to come to that decision. She could have come to the decision, you are the enemy. You are going to kill off my people. You kill us, we kill you. So you're out of here. And this God of yours. But she has seen certain things. She has heard certain things. And she has made a decision based on those. By the way, as I reminded you before, faith always has some facts to depend on. It may not have all of the facts, but when you take the facts of the matter, when you put the facts together with faith and you mix them, in her situation, it meant that she believed that the God that the Jews served was the God of heaven and earth, and it brought salvation to her. She believed. She didn't have to. Nobody was forcing her. There was no preacher saying, now when we get to the 20th stanza of just as I am, I'm going to watch you all come. Yes, they will wait for you. That's all right. Come. And no, none of that. She just had the facts. She mixed them with faith. And she believed. And it was salvation for her and for her family. Now notice, it was her decision to turn her back on her culture and turn her eyes to God. She turned her back on the culture that she knew, the one that had raised her. And just because of what she had heard about the God in heaven, she believed. All of us are dealt a certain number of facts in life. The question is not what you have by way of facts. The question is, what do you do by way of faith? See, the Jericho prostitute became a Jewish proselyte. See, a proselyte was someone who was brought into the Jewish faith. Someone who was not born a Jew, but they said, I believe in this God that you serve. I believe he is the God of heaven and earth. I mean, think of the change in her life. Prostitute. Proselyte. That's not all of the story, however. I'm going to take you to a little bit more. Notice her deal. Now, she does make a deal here. This is a smart lady. She's made, I'm sure, many deals in her life. Well, she's got one here too. But I want you to notice where her deal comes in regard to her faith. Here's the deal. Joshua chapter 2, verse 12. And her deal is coming quickly here. Now, therefore, please swear to me by the Lord, since I have dealt kindly with you, that you also will deal kindly with my father's household, and give me a pledge of truth, and spare my father and my mother, and spare my family too, my brothers and my sisters, with all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. So the men said to her, okay, here's our part of the deal. So those men said to her, our life for yours, if you do not tell this business of ours. And it shall come about when the Lord gives us the city, gives us the victory, gives us the land, that we will deal kindly and faithfully with you. Now, get this. She not only had already believed in the God of heaven, now she's placing some faith in his representatives. She is having to trust them as to whether or not they will keep their word, even if she does keep hers. So here's the deal set up. Now here's what I want you to notice, because it's just a fantastic thing to see in the Old Testament. You say, really? Cheese? No. See that word, deal kindly? It's the Hebrew word chesed. When I was practicing my Hebrew vocabulary when I was in seminary, my wife thought I was always clearing my throat or something. That's because the Hebrew has a lot of these. Yeah, it's chesed. You don't do too much of the C, but it's there. Chesed. What's interesting about the word chesed is it is used over and over and over in the Old Testament. It is a very strong theological word. It means God's loyal covenant love. That's the way it's used when God said, I will deal kindly with Abraham. I will pour out my blessings upon you. I will deal kindly with my people, the Jews. Chesed, I will give you my grace. I will give you all of what heaven is about if you will trust God's loyal covenant love. So they say, we will make the same kind of covenant with you that God has made with us. God's heavenly love. What would you notice? Her faith preceded the deed. Stop and think about how it would be with you and with me. My tendency would be, hey, you show me first of all what you're going to do, and then I will make my deal with you. I mean, think about our relationship with God here for a moment. Okay. We say things like, God, you do something for me, and then I'll have faith. Don't. This is the way we use love. God, here's my little list. Now, you do these things, and I will trust you. And of course, we also have the one when we have our little list and pain in our lives, and our children have difficulties and death and all these things. We say, you do those things, I will trust you. That's why this is so different. Because with God, he says, you have faith, and then I'll do something for you. You trust me as the God of heaven, I will do something for you. See, we look at the situation, and in life, we say things like, seeing is believing. But the faith life says what? Believing is seeing. The faith faith life says, I will believe God and He will do what He says He will do, and I can always trust Him. Now again, sometimes we think He will do all of these things because we made the list, and He didn't make that promise. God has promised us so many things, but He didn't always promise to give you the things in your list. He always promises to do that which is right and meet your needs and mine and take care of us in this life, as difficult as it may be sometimes. She had faith first. Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith it is Henry, good. It's impossible. I mean, we read that verse, and it's a neat verse, but when you see it in the life of a lady who all of her life has been sort of wicked and evil, and now she's trusting in the God of heaven, and He's going to save her. She had faith, and without faith, it is impossible to please God. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Joshua chapter 2, verse 17, the men said to her, we shall be free from this oath to you which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land you tie this cord of scarlet thread in the window through which you let us down, and gather to yourself into the house your father and your mother and your brothers and all your father's household, unless we see that scarlet thread. Unless you are all in this room together, then you can forget it. There's the scarlet thread. Doesn't it seem interesting that God seems to love that color? Put a little scarlet blood on your doorposts, and the death angel will pass over you. Say to a harlot, put the scarlet robe down your window, and we'll know that is the house that we will not destroy. And of course, you know the story. They marched around and the city was destroyed. Back in the 1950s, British archaeologist Kathleen Kenyon's work proved, as she put it, proved that there was no city of Jericho when the Jews went through there, so they could not have knocked down the walls. Yeah, that's what she proved. It's interesting, though, because at her death in 1983, one man took her work and found all of the inconsistencies in it, and from her work and what he had also done, because he was knowledgeable in pottery and those things of that day, Bryant Wood proved her wrong and discovered indeed that the city had not only existed, but that it had fallen, and that it had fallen outward, and there was one portion of the city wall that had rooms that was still standing exactly as the Bible described. You should believe good science, but remember, good science is sometimes proved wrong, or it's improved over time. You have to be very careful. I'll tell you what, if I've got to choose one or the other, I'm going to choose the Bible first every time. And that's the way it really turned out to be. God spared Rahab and her family. But as I say, there's more to the story. Okay, so she is saved. Her family is saved. They are brought through all of this. Joshua 6:5 says, Rahab the harlot and her father's household, and all she had, Joshua spared. And she has lived in the midst of Israel to this day, the writer says. For she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out. Now, while living in Israel, this proselyte to Judaism, she found a husband. And it just so happened, the Word of God tells her, that he was the originator. He was the town father. He was the one who started the town of Bethlehem. He was sort of an affluent sort of man. And this woman had come into the midst of the Jews, and she had trusted God by faith, and apparently he saw enough in her to say, I want this woman to be my wife. Well, that's pretty interesting. I think Hollywood's put out stories like that. But there's more. Here's what's more. The genealogy of Jesus Christ found in Matthew tells us that she's part of it. Let me show you. Because she had married a man who was the grandfather of and the grandfather of, and here it is, Matthew 1:5. Salmon, whom she married, was the father of Boaz by Rahab, and Boaz was the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David the king, from whom came the line of Messiah. You would think he would have kept it to the Jews, wouldn't you? No. She was a Gentile. You would think that the genealogy of Jesus would only be good people. No, she's in there. Ruth also was a Moabite. The Moabites were cursed by God, and yet Ruth is in the genealogy. She was a prostitute who became a proselyte. And becoming a proselyte, then she is prosperous because she had made the choice to follow God. And God changed her life. Now, I'll tell you this. For you here this morning, I don't know what you have done in your life. I don't know where you've been. But like Rahab, when you respond to God in faith, I can tell you where He is, and I can tell you what He is doing, and I can tell you what He can make of your life if you will give your life to Him. That's a great thing to know. I have people say to me all the time, I can't become a Christian. I've sinned too much. I say, man, you fit perfectly the job description. God only saves sinners. Whoa. But I've been a bad one. That means that puts you way at the top. Oh, let me tell you. How many of you could use a $100 bill? Anybody want like a $100 bill? We got a few. Okay. What if I took this $100 bill and just crushed it completely? Now, anybody want the $100 bill? Oh, the value still. What if I stomped on it? Anybody still want it? Yeah. You're not going to get it, but... By the way, it is fake. If I happen to leave it up here, don't you go spend it. You end up in jail, and I'm not coming to see you because they'd know I did it. The inherent value is there. And there have been so many people who have been crushed, and they have been torn, and yet God has turned their lives around. Let me tell you one other story. It was a man who owned a small farm, owned a donkey. He didn't have much. He was way outside of town. One day his donkey fell into a hole in the ground, an old well that he didn't even know was there, and he didn't have any way to get that donkey out. There was not even anybody around to help get that donkey out. So he decided that what he would do is just bury the donkey right there. And so he began to shovel in the dirt on top of the donkey, and the donkey's braying all the time, and it just saddened his heart. And he had shoveled in some more dirt, and then he noticed every time he shoveled in the dirt, the donkey would shake that off and get up on top of that. After a few minutes, that donkey's out of there. I know how the world does you and me. I even know how Christians do us. They say you're a sinner. Yeah. And I mention sin a lot because the Word of God mentions sin a lot. But the good news is God saves sinners. Now, that doesn't mean He wants you to keep sinning. In fact, He makes it possible for you to go on and live the way He wants you to, but sometimes we don't get out of that hole because we just let the stuff fall on us, and we just say, Yeah, yes, I'm bad. I'm real bad. Jesus, on the night in which he was betrayed, did something that the church has remembered for, lo, these 2,000 years. In fact, he said, when you do this, I want you to remember me. When you partake of the bread, you're to remember my body. Now, those men, those Jewish men who were with him, they remembered the Passover. And they remembered these elements from the Passover. But to those Jewish men who had Passover in their minds, he said, no, this is new for you now, gentlemen. Now this pictures my body. And now the juice, the cup, the wine pictures my blood shed for you. So down through the centuries, the church has been reminded every time we partake of communion. It is a reminder not how good he is, but it is also a reminder of how bad we are. We were sinners, so bad that it made somebody die in order to save us, but only his death could save us. Only his perfect life, only he as the spotless, sinless Son of God could do anything worthy of saving this soul and these. Gentlemen, will you come? I'm going to ask you all to pray with me now. And Father, we bring this time before you, just a time to remember what you've done in our lives. Father, there may be some Rahabs here this morning. Maybe some folks who can't even be named. Father, I'm just amazed at how many sins exist in our world. But that's why you sent your Son. Not to condemn us. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world. You reminded us of that, Father. Yet everybody seems to think of how condemning you are. We're thankful, Father, of how gracious you are. We pray these things in Jesus' name. If this is your first time with us, as the men pass the elements, we'd ask that you would keep them until everyone has received, and then we'll partake together. Thank you, sirs. If you'll serve us, please. When we partake, we remember. Let's remember together. In the same way, our Lord Jesus took the cup. When he had given thanks, he said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is for you. Do this also in remembrance of me." Gentlemen, will you pass the elements, please? Ladies have been playing, "Were you there when they crucified my Lord?" No, I wasn't. But yes, I was. The first time I heard that as a kid, I thought, what a silly song. No, I wasn't there. My sins were, boy, when Jesus hung on that cross, he took them all. I was at least represented there. So I understand the song now. Through Jesus and the blood that he shed for me, I can have forgiveness. Let's remember together. Thank you, men.